This is the Alden Report.
Today's episode is brought to you in part by Wicked Happy. The way you live your life depends on your outlook, and theirs is simple. Be wicked happy. Wicked Happy provides you with apparel to make you smile. So if you want to be wicked happy and you want to look wicked cool, then visit wickedhappy.com, and at checkout, enter in the code RADIO for an additional 15% off your entire order. Again, visit wickedhappy.com, apparel to make you smile.
This is the Alden Report.
All right. Well, we are here in Blue Bay Studios. My name is Michael Alden. As always, I'm super excited for my next guest. My next guest is an internationally recognized speaker. He's the author of 7 internationally recognized best-selling books and just an all-around great person. You know, I met this guy through a friend of a friend, and we just kind of hit it off. And I was like, look, man, you have to come on my podcast because the wealth of knowledge and the things that he's done for people. He's appeared on NBC, Fox News, ABC. He's a contributor in Forbes. The guy's just doing stuff at a higher level. And I always love connecting with people like this. And I love connecting you, the listeners and the viewers of the Alden Report, with guys like this. Please help me welcome Chris Westfall. Chris, thanks so much for being my guest.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you for that introduction. It's great to be here with you.
So yeah, man, we connected through a mutual friend, Brant. In fact, actually, him and I were just texting back and forth yesterday, and I was like, you know what, man, you got to come on the podcast. You know, your publisher is also my publisher, which is Wiley and Sons. So you have this new book out called Easier, and as you know, people who follow me and listen to what some of the things that I do. First of all, the title itself, man, it's just a sexy title. Talk a little bit about your journey as an author. And kind of like what got you to this latest book called Easier.
I think the thing that got me to creating this book is the fact that I have been hard on myself my entire life. And I kind of realized that, if being hard on myself were going to work, it would have worked by now. And maybe it's time for me to look in the direction of easier. And that's really where it came from. I mean, if you think about all the things that are going on in the world right now, and you could pick whatever topic you'd like, but we all want things to be easier. And here's the thing that I discovered, Mike, that led me to write this book is that easier always exists. It exists even when life is hard. I mean, it's like saying hope exists. I mean, hope always exists. We say, oh, hope is lost. No, we just don't know where to find it, or we're not willing to look for it. And it's the same thing with easier. For me in my life, hard has been a habit, but I've realized it doesn't have to be. So that's where this book came from. And Mike, when I pitched this book to Wiley, this is not the book I set out to write. It was going to be like 100 tips and tricks about the future of work. And the title was Easier. I always knew that was going to be the title of it. But, I sat down to write the book, and it felt like writing 100 blog posts. And I just didn't want to do that. I felt like, I don't know. It just didn't excite me. And I said, what would happen if I could turn this into a story? And I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't know if I could write like a business fable or, like where you create characters and have the ideas unfold out of the story and what happens to the characters. But that's what Easier is. And that's where I sat down and that's kind of the book that came through me. So it's really interesting because this is the book that I needed to write. It wasn't the book I set out to write though. And also, Mike, to be honest, truth be told, it's the book that I need to read because every day I'm looking for ways to make things easier.
Again, when we first connected and I heard the concept and obviously the title, they always say, don't judge a book by its cover, but most people do judge books by their cover. So the title in and of itself is the first part that really kind of I gravitated towards. And, in looking at all the content that you produce, both on your Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube, when I think about the title or I just think about the concept of Easier, you talk about something interesting about being lazy and talk a little bit about how being lazy could actually benefit you to being even more productive in both business and personal life.
So inside the conversation that takes place in Easier, and it really is a book about a conversation between a client and a coach. the client is frustrated with his job. He's frustrated with his life. He's frustrated with a lot of things. And so he hires a coach to help him to sort it all out. And so he sits down and he meets the coach for the first time. And the coach says, I need you to be lazy. And the client just loses his mind over this idea, because he spent his entire life being everything but lazy. He's been very driven. He's been very focused. He's been very intentional, and he's been very frustrated. So he can't really hear what the coach is suggesting and offering, at least at first. And so the coach has to explain it a little bit further. And what he's saying is not be lazy, like, sit on the couch and watch Netflix or see how many potato chips you can eat. But lazy, listen,
I'm good at those two things. That's how
I got that down.
I take Netflix and chill to a whole nother level. But anyway, go ahead.
That's all right. You got that down. Yeah. I know what you mean.
I have that part mastered. I've made that easier.
Well, and who doesn't love that, though? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's great and we all enjoy that kind of laziness, but the kind of laziness that's really at the core of easier is lazy, like a lazy Sunday afternoon. And if you think about a lazy Sunday afternoon, I don't know about your Sunday afternoons, but on my lazy Sunday afternoons, I do only exactly what I want to do. And sometimes that is sitting on the couch watching Netflix. But whether I am taking a hike or talking with my kids or spending time with my wife or making a sandwich, I mean, whatever it is that I'm doing, Mike, when I'm living life like a lazy Sunday afternoon, I'm living life on my terms, and I'm living life outside of obligations. And the only things that I'm doing are the things that I want to do. And really, a lazy Sunday afternoon for me is a time when I'm creating my world my way. And that is what the coach is pointing at, is being able to live your life like a lazy Sunday afternoon means meeting life on your own terms and understanding that the obligations of Monday morning, they're always going to be there. But the way you show up on a lazy Sunday afternoon is different. It's outside of the world of work. It's where you're working on the things that you want to create. Again, whether it's a sandwich or a hike or a project in the garage, whatever it might be. When you live life like a lazy Sunday afternoon, you're actively lazy. In other words, you use lazy to create something new. And for me, in my experience, it's a great place to come from, and something that, I mean, who doesn't enjoy a lazy Sunday afternoon?
I worry about this concept a little bit, though. I worry that people they won't understand what you're saying. They will just kind of hope that somehow they'll be successful as a result of their laziness, and they just sit back because I think a lot of people expect things out of their lives with no rational thought behind it. In other words, I'm a good person, therefore I should be successful, and it's just going to happen, for me. And I think a lot of people in this world are living their Sunday afternoons every day. Talk a little bit about that, and then also about the concept of, working harder versus smarter, or both.
Well, living life like a lazy Sunday afternoon is about working smarter. But here's the word that I want to point out: working. In other words, taking action. If you live your life just being lazy and expecting life to show up, and what do? So you buy a lottery ticket every day and hope for the best. I mean, that's not easier, because
I think a lot of people, I think a lot of people do that. I think we would be shocked. I'm sure there's some sort of research out there. Because I mean, I know a lot of these people. I grew up with a lot of these people. My family members are a lot of these people. They fucking buy lottery tickets, and my dad, love him to death. I remember, and I've told this story before. He probably doesn't like when I told it, but I remember being a kid. My dad was one of the hardest working guys I know. Machinist, always on his feet. I think we talked about. Wasn't your father a machinist too? No,
he wasn't a machinist. No,
But so he's always on his feet, always working. And I remember one Christmas, where he won like the pool in his, in the machine shop. Now, if he hadn't won that pool, we wouldn't have had a Christmas. And I remember being a young child and thinking about, man, that's just probably not the way to live. But so many people are expecting that they're just going to get some sort of windfall because maybe they do work hard, or maybe they just they are a good person, but that isn't how life works.
Nope. Nope, it's not. And there are a lot of folks out there that think, well, I'm going to invest in NFTs, or I'm going to start day trading, or I'm going to start flipping houses. Right. Hey, those are all, valid pursuits and worthwhile pursuits, but you can't just dip your toe into the water and think you're swimming.
Right.
You can't just walk into a room and expect money to fall into your lap because you can spell Bitcoin.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Lazy helps you to show up differently. In other words, what actively lazy allows you to do is to step aside from obligations, to step aside from putting pressure on yourself. And look, nobody works well with a gun to their head. And when we take the pressure off of ourselves, but we still take action, that's the place where the real power comes from. And if you're going to go into real estate or NFTs or whatever it is that's your favorite flavor of ways to make money, or going into the office to work, or working from home, you got to take action, and you got to understand that regret is never easier, and having false expectations or unrealistic expectations, there's nothing easier about that.
Right.
But what makes things easier is when you understand that if you can just get out of your own way and see that obligations don't have to slow you down. You don't have to stop because you're afraid about being perfect, or stop because you're expecting life to meet you not halfway, but all the way. That's not how life works.
Man, I'm excited that you're here today. In a second, I want to talk to you about failure and really what that is, and how to embrace that. I know that you talk a lot about it in the book as well. Folks, we are on with Chris Westfall. Again, I just love doing this podcast because I get to connect with people like Chris. I get to connect you with people like Chris, guys and gals that have lived their lives, who continue to live their lives, who continue to help people kind of level up, so to speak. Chris is an internationally recognized speaker. He's written 7 books. His books are sold all over the world. He's a consultant that gets paid huge numbers to work with him. And he's here today to spend time with you, with me, to give the information, not only in his book, but the experiences that he has learned throughout the years as well. So listen, if you'd like some more information about Chris, go to westfallonline.com. His latest book is titled Easier, 60 Ways to Make Your Work Life Work for You. It's a great book. It's also with my current publisher, Wiley & Sons. And, look, I just want people to understand, you don't get a deal with a company like Wiley if you're not the real deal. So look, if you'd like some more information about Chris, you want to pick up the book, go to westfallonline.com. You can just go to Amazon. The book's available everywhere. Again, the title of the book is Easier, and it's Chris Westfall, Westfall.
Today's episode is brought to you in part by Wicked Happy. The way you live your life depends on your outlook, and theirs is simple. Be wicked happy. Wicked Happy provides you with apparel to make you smile. So if you want to be wicked happy and you want to look wicked cool, then visit wickedhappy.com, and at checkout, enter in the code RADIO for an additional 15% off your entire order. Again, visit wickedhappy.com, apparel to make you smile.
So, okay, let's talk about failure. I have entrepreneurs like yourself and motivational speakers and a lot. And, you have an interesting perspective. In fact, you have a quote in your book about, defeat and failure. Talk a little bit about what failure means to you and how your book addresses it.
The quote that you're talking about is from F. Scott Fitzgerald, and he said, "Never confuse a single defeat with a final defeat." And so many times in life, we do that. We look at events that happen, circumstances and choices that we make, and we say, man, that was a failure. That was a mistake. But let me tell you, Mike, I look back on bad breakups, bad relationships that I had, and I go, man, mistakes were made. But I've been married for 28 years, man. I'm the husband that I am today because of those quote unquote mistakes. I am the man that I am today because of choices that I made, not failures, choices. And what happens when you look at your life, and if you zoom out, you see this. When you look at your life and you say, you know what I did in the past was based on the best thinking I had at the time, and I made choices You can characterize them as mistakes. You can characterize them as failures. You could also characterize them as the reason you became the man or the person that you are today. And that's how I choose to look at my mistakes. I'm not making excuses for myself or for my behavior or for my choices. I'm just trying to bring a little bit of understanding to how life works. Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. And there were times Mike, there were times in my life I didn't know how to drive a car. I didn't know how to drink whiskey, for Pete's sake. I didn't know a lot of things.
Oh, whoa, what?
Yeah, well, it's true. But I don't want to talk about last week. I don't want to talk about that. There were times when there were things I didn't know, but now when I know better, I do better. And when I look at life as choices and I don't confuse a single defeat with a final defeat, I understand that I might be down, but I'm not out. I'm still swinging. I still got gas in the tank. And if you're hearing the sound of my voice, that means you do too. So there's a way to look at what you might call failure that reframes it, that gives you a new opportunity to look forward from what you've done in the past. Because listen, here's the deal. The past reminds us. It does not define us. You and I, we talked about this. You are more than how you were raised. And so am I. Right. I'm grateful for my background. I wouldn't change a thing in it, but it reminds me, it does not define me. And that's what we have to understand about this idea of failure and mistakes and all that stuff. Wasting time on regret is never easier. But when we understand that we made some choices based on the best thinking we had at the time, life can get a little easier, I think.
Yeah, what you're talking about too, right, is really kind of how you're framing the experiences in your life, especially the difficult ones, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
Talk a little bit about how one does that, because look, you're not the first person that I've heard say this, and I'm sure you won't be the last. Like how do you really do it? Because you and I have talked offline a bunch of times, and we've both, like anyone in life, had really difficult times in life, and I say that nobody enjoys going through shit. I don't care. It's just, if you do, you're a masochist. Something's wrong with you. Yeah. But I feel like it's almost necessary to achieve, quote, success, whatever that is for you, however you want to define success. How do you really shift your mindset to make things easier, to make those difficult temporary defeats, as Zig Ziglar calls them, temporary defeats? How do you work towards that, so that it, because you talked about habit earlier, bad habits, so that it becomes a habit, like a good habit? So I get my ass kicked in this business deal or whatever, and I'm just able to move on. Look, there's all these memes out there on social media, and you hear some of these other people kind of talk about it, but really, how do you make those things easier? Because I feel like, I know I'm just kind of ranting here, but I don't know how to do it. I love to hear your perspective on that.
Well, I don't know if I know how to do it either, but I'll tell you what
Make
works.
It easier for me, Chris.
Yeah. Well, let's start with what's difficult. We'll kind of go on if you follow me on this, kind of a line of reasoning to get from difficult to easier. Here's what difficult looks like to me. I hear folks like, I think it's Jocko Willink that says, embrace the suck. Right. Life's hard and you got to embrace it and stuff. And I go, man, I don't want to embrace it. It is hard. Because the guy who wrote Easier, there's parts of my life that are hard because I'm a human being, right? I'm not some enchanted guru. I'm living life just like everybody else who's watching and listening to us right now. So when I go, I can't embrace the suck, then I go, well, where can I turn? And so I have a friend of mine that's always like, well, gratitude is the answer. And I'm like, oh man, what if I can't get thankful about what's going on in my life? How do I make this easier? And I when gratitude feels like a bridge too far, and embracing the suck seems like an impossible request. I try to find the answer to this question, which I'm always asking myself, what could make this easier? And the thing that has shown up for me in the middle of difficult circumstances, and I'll just share this with you and see if it helps. It's made a difference for me, is looking at a difficult situation and saying a couple of things. One, what's good about this? What's good about this? I don't have to be grateful about it. I don't have to embrace it, but can I see some goodness in the badness? Can I look for easier in the midst of the difficulty? And the other thing that's really useful in the midst of, the storm of whatever it is that you're facing is to stop and to say these 5 words: what else could this mean? Because so many times, what I'm saying, what makes things tough is the story that we've got around the situation. I mean, if we've got a story around someone that we're working with, and it's just like, man, I can't stand Josh. He makes me crazy. That guy's, well, does he make you crazy all the time? Is it possible that what else could this mean is that when you're in a meeting with Josh, or when you're on Zoom with Josh, or you're watching him chew his gum, or whatever it is that's making you crazy about this guy, it's not a constant. And that goes back to not confusing a single defeat with a final defeat. Don't confuse a single characteristic with an absolute. Don't create absolutes around your life. Step back, zoom out. See if you can find something that's good about this. See if you can ask yourself, what else could this mean? Because sometimes all that's needed is a shift in perspective and things get easier.
Yeah, I think the way you just summed it up at the end is the simplest part, but it's also, kind of training your brain to recognize that, again, we're talking about easier, right? Nothing's easy, but let's make it easy.
It's easy. That's too much. Yeah. They go, it's easy. It's not, life's not easy. I wouldn't say that. Yeah.
Right. But we're talking about making it easier, right? Making it less difficult, less traumatic on you. And I think that is the average everyday person who goes through life and goes through the difficult times. It's pretty easy for us to use the term easy, to make an excuse, to accept our fate based off of our environment or the circumstances that happen to us. And therefore we just stay there. You and I talked about this before as well, knowing about where you came from and versus, where you're going. That's the answer, huh, man? You just really, what we're talking about is just trying to find, like I talked about this in one of my books, about trying to find the silver lining. As I'm listening to you talk too, I've heard others talk about this, about, if you have something really difficult that happens in your life, one of those temporary defeats or one of those defeats they're talking about, sometimes you might not be able to find something that seems good, but 5 years later, you may say to yourself, man, I'm glad that happened, because if that hadn't happened, then I wouldn't be here, right?
That's exactly right.
So if you can change your thought process to recognize that this happened really kind of for a reason, that there will be some good that will come from it, it makes it easier to absorb that pain, so to speak.
I think so.
Yeah.
It seems to me that the key is just recognizing that you're going to have some thinking around your circumstances. You're going to think this sucks. You're going to think this is awesome. Whatever it is that you're going through, you're going to have some thinking around it. And where things get easier is when you understand that you don't have to manage your moods or your thinking, that it's not a matter of controlling your thoughts, which is like trying to harness the wind, right? Because our thoughts are always coming. They're going to show up. Things happen. They disappoint us. Well, the question, and this is kind of where it steps into from the coaching perspective, is, would it be okay with you if you're upset when things don't go your way? Because that to me sounds like a very human reaction. That doesn't feel like a mistake that needs to be corrected. It feels like the way that anybody would respond when you get passed over for a promotion, or she doesn't say yes, or whatever the case may be. There's disappointment that comes into all of our lives. But the word that changes disappointment into something useful, and I'll just share it with you. It's a single word. Here it is. Next.
Yeah.
When something happens, I mean, I had a friend of mine, a guy who came up to me last night. I was doing a book signing, Mike. I did a book signing, a live event. And this guy comes up to me and he says, you know what, Chris, the message of easier really resonated with me, because I was very successful in business before I was 35 years old. And then business took a turn. I lost everything. I had a house, I had a bunch of cars, and I like $50 in my bank account. I couldn't afford notes. I couldn't afford this, that, and the other thing. And I was talking to my wife about it. And she had a big smile on her face, and I couldn't figure out why. I said, why are you smiling at me? That we're at the absolute bottom, at the pit financially. Why are you smiling at me? And I think he thought she was like laughing at him. And she says, you don't realize you've done this all before. You built a business. You've built the success that we have. You can do it again. That was when it changed for him, Mike. That was when he realized, and it was a mindset shift. It wasn't just a mindset, it was a state of mind shift where he realized, he came to an understanding. He's like, I've done this before. I can do this again. He understood resilience. He understood resourcefulness. He understood that he was capable. And so when he was able to say next, which is a version of let's do it again. Let's get back in the game. He took action. He sold some of the vehicles that he had. He made some moves because he had assets. He couldn't afford to cover his assets, but he had some assets and he was able to sell some things. He was able to make some maneuvers because he had some space in his head. He wasn't locked into this, man, I'm a failure. Everything's a total loss. There are no options. Listen, one of the things in the book is a strategy that is so important. It's called the Yahoo Strategy. And it's not about the search engine. Yahoo means you always have other options. And that is always true. It's true. Even when your back is up against the wall, you always have other options. Even if your option is only to choose differently about the way you show up in the middle of those circumstances. This is what my friend realized. He told me this in person last night. It touched my heart. Because he was right. And let me tell you something. Today, he's one of the most successful businessmen that I know. He's got a he owns multiple retail establishments. The guy is doing great. And where that came from was just a simple understanding that there was more possibility out there than what he was able to see. And thank God his wife pointed him in that direction because things got easier when she did.
I love that acronym, man. And, I talk a lot about this with my daughter, who's, 16, about options, giving yourself options, right? There's a school of thought out there and where people talk about, if you want to be successful in business, you shouldn't have a backup plan. I disagree with that. I don't know how you feel about that. But I love the idea of what you're talking about. There's one, there always are options, but also giving yourself options so that if things do go south, or if the things don't go the way you want, you at least have the opportunity to shift your thinking and or shift your business, because of options. In the workforce, your book, you're talking about 60 ways to make your work life easier. Does it make life easier if people have a backup to a particular course of action, or what's your thought on that?
I think options always exist. And I would be very wary of someone who says there's only one way. There's, burn the lifeboats. There's only one way to win. Can you imagine? Imagine if you and I were playing for our man, Bill Belichick, and we went up to him and said, hey, coach, there's only one way to win. You know what he would say? Sit down. Right? Your job is to find every way to win. And here's the thing. Success can change. The way that you define success. If you're like, well, success means I'm married by the time I'm 25 or whatever it is that you got going on. I would just say, what happens if you drop that story? Just for a minute. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm not saying it's not worthwhile, but this definition of success and who you have to be, especially if it's like it's one way or you're nothing. Right? It's all or nothing. That to me doesn't look like the way that life works. And if you say how many versions of success are there, the answer is always infinite. Because you have to decide what success looks like for you, not what it looks like for me, not what it looks like for Bill Belichick. We each of us decide that on our own terms, as it should be. And I would be very wary of somebody who says, look, you got one option in life, and here it is. That's not the way life works. There are always other options, and success can take many, many forms. So when you are seeing possibilities, that's when you're in the zone. That's when you're in that space that some folks call flow. That's where you're at a place where things get easier, when you see possibilities. But if you are going through life with a gun to your head and believing that there's only one door that you can walk through, that's a deep misunderstanding. And there's nothing easier about that.
Yeah. And you kind of did it for me as well. I've always defined success as whatever it is you want it to be.
There it is.
And that makes things, I think, a lot easier, because kind of as I started to develop success from what the outside world would look at, and material things and millions of dollars and all these other things.
Sure.
To a lot of people that looks like success, but they also don't know the pain that I was going through during all that other stuff as well. And you and I were talking about, I've had a bit of a kind of a shift in my life. And it's interesting, as you were talking about your friend who kind of lost everything, knock on wood, I've come pretty close a few times. But right. I think
I'm right. I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about maybe going back to your friend too. And, someone who is an entrepreneur themselves, who has been in business for a long time, about making the tough decision. It's not an easy decision, but making that tough decision does ultimately make things easier, right? Because I think, well, for me, I've talked about this before, I think it's a lot easier to make the decision on your own rather than having someone else make the decision for you. And a lot of people, it's the latter. The decisions are made for them because their inability to make a decision, the tough decision.
It's true. And they lack the will or the personal fortitude. And someone comes along with a strong strength of will. It says, here's what you need to do. And if you're open to that, you go, oh, I guess I have to, I must. And the obligation inside of that just makes me stop and say things like, just because a train of thought shows up, that doesn't mean that you have to ride that train. And just because someone comes and says, I've got all your answers, that's not where your answers come from. I mean, if you think about it, any decision that you make, even if it's a decision to follow someone else's advice or guidance, comes from inside of you, no place else. And if in the absence of knowing what it is that you want to do next, you latch on to what someone else is saying. I mean, there's a lot of people in this world that are doing that. But when things get easier is when you stop and step back and understand that what worked for someone else is not going to work for you. It's like this. I'm going to say this. This is probably going to sound zen and woo woo and everything, but I'm going to say it just the same. And here it is. You cannot enter a river at the same place twice. What I mean by that is the river is changing. If I say this is exactly where I entered the river, which is to say, this is how I launched my business and I did it in 2008. And here's how you should too. Because the world is exactly like it is in 2008, because you are exactly like me. False. These are misunderstandings. The river is different. The river is moving on, and you have to enter the river in your own way and on your own terms. Does that mean that it's not useful to learn from others? Does that mean that it's not useful to take advice and counsel from people that have been where you'd like to be? Of course not. But where the line gets crossed is when someone says, and watch out for these words, you should blank, because nobody has your answers. I mean, that's like, I got a gorgeous sport coat in the next room. I could say to you, hey, Mike, you should wear this sport coat. It's not even your size. It's not going to fit.
Are you calling me fat? You just called me fat. You just called me.
I'm saying you're a big guy. You look fit. I'm saying you're jacked. That's what I'm saying. No, I don't know. But you know what I mean? If what works, my point is what works for me, it is naive and it's a misunderstanding for me to go, well, this is how I did it. So if you do these, if you follow these 6 steps, you're going to get the exact same results. You might get some results. You might get more results. That's going to depend on who you are. And also, again, where you enter the river and how you show up is what's going to allow you to find success on your own terms. And I would be very wary of anybody who says, I've got your answers, because those answers can only come from inside of yourself. And what will be smarter is, if you're looking for those answers, would be to find a coach, would be to find someone that can help you, not tell you how to live your life, but can help you to find the life that's inside of you and waiting to come out. That's where the frustration's coming from, when you got goals and potentials and things that you want to realize, but you can't tap into them. And we think, well, it's just through door number 1. I have to do this one thing that means success. Does it? Who says? Success is infinite. Possibilities are infinite. That's always true. That's not woo-woo. That's not hippy-trippy. That's how life works. There are an infinite number of possibilities just in this conversation. Check it out. Justin Bieber, avocados. This is crazy. I didn't know I was going to say that. infinite
Oh,
possibilities.
I did. No, I knew
Did
that.
you? How did you know that? You're a
I'm clairvoyant.
prestidigitator.
Clairvoyant. I don't talk a lot about it, but I'm clairvoyant.
I love it.
Man, I tell you, I love your energy. I love what we're talking about. I want to keep you for a little bit longer. I want to talk to you. We talked about earlier. Talked about action. We hear a lot about it. It's the buzzword. Everyone kind of knows that you need to take action. But I want to talk a little bit about taking action to make your work life and your personal life easier. Again, we're on with Chris Westfall. Man, if you're listening right now, if you're not fired up, if you're not motivated, then you're not listening. You need to rewind and start over, because this guy has motivated me. He's got me excited. Look, he's an internationally recognized author. He's written 7 books. His latest book is titled Easier: 60 Ways to Make Your Work Life Work for You. If you'd like some more information about Chris, you can go to westfallonline.com. He kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. Look, he works with multinational corporations. He's helped raise millions of dollars, but he also works with individuals as well. We talked a little bit about, he briefly just touched upon it about coaches. We talked about Bill Belichick a few minutes ago, and it's somewhat cliche-ish, but we all know this. We all know that we need something to help us to grow. And if you like what Chris is saying, if you want to connect with Chris, you just go to westfallonline.com. So again, it's westfallonline.com. You can fill out some information there. He's got a bunch of free stuff as well. He's a contributor for Forbes. He's been on television for years. The guy just continues to motivate and help others. So again, go to westfallonline.com. So action, right?
Action.
You hear it all the time. You got to take action, and massive and immediate action. I've heard people say that that Bill Gates said that years ago. You got to take massive. You always hear about action, and I feel like in business, the hardest part is the execution and the action itself of doing whatever it is you need to do. Like, for instance, I've launched a bunch of different businesses, and there are certain things that I need to do as the founder or CEO. And some of these things, Chris, I just don't want to do. Like, I just totally don't want to do it. I'm in a business right now. I'm a licensed attorney. I have a bunch of other different types of licenses, but I've entered into a business where I need to get licensed in order to grow the business. I don't want to do it. Why? Well, I got to take a test. When we're done, I'm going to go in that other room right there. I'm going to be studying. I'm 47 years old. I haven't studied for anything in a long time, but I know that if I want this business to be easier for me, those are the actions and those are the steps that I need to take. Talk about the whole process of action, our resistance to the action that we know we need to take. And ultimately the outcome that happens that does make things easier once you finally do whatever it is you need to do.
Well, one of the things that really helps me to take action is to remember what discipline really is. And that's what you're talking about. It's going to take some discipline. You don't want to do it, but you got to go in the next room and dial back the clock and dial in. But here's the thing. Discipline and taking action is sometimes it's as easy as just remembering what it is that you want. And if it's as simple as that, there's some other things that you can ask yourself though too. I mean, when I think about what keeps me from taking action is I say things like, I know how this is going to turn out. I know what this is going to be. And I have a coach myself. And when I share stuff like that and I go, I know how this is going to shake out. I know. She goes, really? Really? And she gives me this 3-word question that I'm just going to put it up on the screen here and I'll throw it up so you can see it. But here's the question. 3 words. Is that true? And she just hits me right between the eyes and she says, so when did you learn how to predict the future? When did you learn that? Because that's some serious, are you Mike Alden? Are you clairvoyant? There can be only one, you understand?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. What happens when you're looking at a particularly difficult decision and you step into this idea? Nobody knows how to predict the future. And you may think this isn't going to go well. This isn't going to go my way. It's not going to shake out. But if you introduce these 3 words, and I hate to pull these cards up here on you, but I like to write stuff down and show it. But if you pull these 3 words, what happens if you start from, I don't know? And people go, oh my God, if I start from I don't know, that means I don't have a plan. I don't know what's going to go on. The future is uncertain. Hey, guess what? The future is uncertain. We try to manage our calendars all the time. And you know what? You know what happens? We get flat tires. Our Zoom connection doesn't work. Our internet goes out. All kinds of things happen that interfere with our plans. Uncertainty is all around us. I'm not saying that to scare anybody. I'm saying, let's look at the way the world works. I mean, this is a big part. I mean, the books that you've written, it's like, here's how the world works. Let's make it work for you. That's what I love about your style, Mike. And I share it, right? So look, if you're going, I know exactly how this is going to shake out. Step back from that. What if you don't? What if you don't know what she's going to say? What if you don't know how he's going to respond when you send that text message? What if there's an easier way to just put one foot in front of the other? Here's the thing, Mike. Here's the thing. And you know this. You've been down this road before. Every book ever written, all the books that you've written, all the books that I've written, all the books written since God was a boy, they all start at the same place. They all start at a blank page. Now, coming to that blank page is all of your experience, your observations, your research, all the things that you bring to the table. But at the end of the day, or maybe at the start of the day, you look at that blank page and you got to put something on it. That's how business plans get started. That's how pitches on Shark Tank get started. It starts with a blank page. So if you say, well, gosh, blank page scares me and I can't take action, then again, I would say you might want to talk to somebody about that, maybe get a different perspective, because blank pages are the place where you can create. The future comes from that blank page that you are about to create something on. Maybe it's a business plan, maybe it's a relationship, a partnership, maybe it's an agreement or a contract, whatever the case may be. Maybe it's a best-selling book. Whatever it is that you're on about, you have to understand that uncertainty always exists. And that is something to be embraced, because the fact that uncertainty always exists means possibilities always exist. And have you ever had a situation where you go, this will never work out, or this isn't going to go poorly, this is going to go poorly, and then you go through it and you go, hey, that wasn't so bad. Hey, that shook out completely different. Hey, the way I imagined that was completely incorrect. And let me tell you, what's behind that is it's never tougher than it is in your mind. And that is only true 100% of the time. The way that we imagine things, the way that we try to predict the future is never the future is either better or worse than the way that we imagine it. That's just how it goes. That is the uncertainty that we have to step into, and step into it not with fear, but with an understanding that says there's a lot of possibilities out there. There are a lot of levers to pull. There are a lot of steps to be taken. And the gig is to find every way to win. That's what it's all about.
Wow. I think that's a great place. That's a great place to end it right here. Man, we've been on with Chris Westfall. Again, I'm fired up that he spent the time with us. He's the author of his latest book. I believe it's his 7th book, titled Easier. I mean, what a title. 60 Ways to Make Your Work Life Work for You. It's a great book. It reads like a story. I think people will really enjoy it. You can get those, 60, lessons. I think there's a lot more than that in there, but, we're going to start with 60. If you'd like some more information about Chris, you can go to westfallonline.com. He's pretty active on Instagram as well. His Instagram is Westfall. Now you just Google this guy. He's everywhere. And again, pick up his book. Again, it's titled Easier, 60 Ways to Make Your Work Life Work for You. Listen, I've said this in the beginning. I'm saying it now. We bring people here on the Alden Report, people that one, I like, and two, that are continuing to do great things and also helping others. Chris has been doing this for a very long time, and he continues to do it. So again, if you'd like some more information about Chris, he briefly touched upon this as well. If you feel like you need a coach, if you own a business, if you're an individual and you like Chris, you like what he's saying, go to his website, westfallonline.com, fill in the information. Someone from his team will get back to you, or Chris himself will even get back to you and see if you guys are a good fit. Because like he said, everybody needs a good coach. And I just want to end it with one of the things that I wrote down, that really kind of resonated with me is think about what you want. Think about what you want, and then take the action steps in order to get what you want. My name is Mike Alden. That's Chris Westfall. It's been another edition of the Alden Report, and we'll see you soon.
Today's episode is brought to you in part by Wicked Happy. The way you live your life depends on your outlook, and theirs is simple. Be wicked happy. Wicked Happy provides you with apparel to make you smile. So if you want to be wicked happy and you want to look wicked cool, then visit wickedhappy.com, and at checkout, enter in the code RADIO for an additional 15% off your entire order. Again, visit wickedhappy.com, apparel to make you smile.